Will Ukraine hold elections in the middle of a war? I know it sounds impossible, but President Zelensky says he is ready. On one condition, though, the US and its allies will have to provide security. But where did this idea come from? Such brainwaves seem to be happening in just one place, and that is Washington, D.C. President Donald Trump has questioned Zelensky's legitimacy as the Ukrainian president. His term was supposed to end in May 2024, but because of the war, there is martial law in Ukraine, and during martial law, elections are suspended. Now, Trump says he doesn't like that. Yesterday, he questioned whether Ukraine was still a democracy.
They haven't had an election in a long time. You know, they talk about a democracy, but it gets to a point where it's not a democracy anymore.
Well, that was the trigger. After Trump's comments, Zelensky spoke out. He said he was willing to hold elections in 60 to 90 days. But like I said, there was one condition.
Look, I am ready for elections. Moreover, I am now asking, and I am stating this openly, for the United States, possibly together with our European colleagues, to help me ensure security for holding elections. And then, within the next 60 to 90 days, Ukraine will be ready to hold them. Personally, I have the will and readiness to do so.
So how would that work? For starters, Ukraine will have to change its law, basically allow elections during martial law period. And that's the easy part. Around 20% of Ukraine's territory is held by Russia. How will those people vote? Around 1.5 million Ukrainians are living abroad as refugees. How will they vote? Tens of thousands of soldiers are in the trenches. How will they vote? Will they pause the war to carry out the elections? The fact is, this idea is ludicrous. Zelensky is not some unpopular dictator fighting an unpopular war. Polls show that 63% Ukrainians want an election after a peace deal. And whether you like him or not, Zelensky remains Ukraine's most popular politician. Multiple polls have already confirmed this. Then why is President Trump insisting on elections? For starters, to build pressure. Trump desperately wants to end the war in Ukraine. He knows that he cannot arm twist Russia, so he wants to arm twist Ukraine.
Is Zelensky responsible for the stalled progress, or what's going on there?
Well, he's got to read the proposal. He hasn't read it
the most
yet.
recent draft.
That's as of yesterday. And maybe he's read it over the night. It would be nice if he would read it. You know, a lot of people are dying, so it would be really good if he'd read it. His people loved the proposal. They really liked it. Well, he's going to have to get on the ball and start accepting things. You know, when you're losing, because you're losing.
Do you think Ukraine has lost this war?
Well, they've lost territory long before I got here. They lost a whole strip of seafront.
Trump's position is very clear. He knows that Ukraine is losing, so he wants Zelensky to take a peace deal. But there's one major sticking point there, and that is territory. Russia wants Ukraine to give up all of Donbas. This is a region in eastern Ukraine. This is where most of the fighting is happening, in the Donbas. Russia already controls 88% of Donbas. They want Ukraine to surrender the remaining 12% as well. Give up all of it. But Zelensky refuses to do that. He says Ukrainian and international law does not permit him to give up land. Strange argument, though. Ukrainian law also does not permit elections during war, but Zelensky doesn't seem to mind that. Either way, the fact is that we are stuck in a loop. Trump ramps up pressure on Zelensky. He gives him a harsh peace deal. Zelensky turns to his European allies. With their support, he makes a counter-offer. Russia rejects that offer. Again, Trump ramps up the pressure. And it's been the same script since Trump took office. We saw it again this week. Zelensky first met the leaders of Germany, France, and the UK. Then he traveled to Italy and Brussels. And now he's preparing a new peace plan for Russia. A plan that Moscow is guaranteed to reject. So clearly, something needs to change here. Maybe Trump should call up his allies in Europe. Maybe he should tell them to support his peace proposal. That's what a seasoned leader would do. Instead, here is what Donald Trump did.
They're not doing a good job. Europe is not doing a good job in many ways. They're not doing a good job. They talk, but they don't produce. But most European nations, they're decaying. They're decaying. They should be freaked out by what they're doing to their countries. They're destroying their countries.
Well,
and their-
European Council
and
President-
they're people I like.
Trump just said Europe is decaying. We're talking about his most important allies, the countries that fought with America in multiple wars. But Trump says they are decaying. Now, there is some truth to what he said. Europe used to make up 25% of global GDP in 1990. Today, they make up just 14%. So yes, Europe's power is waning. But by that logic, so is America's. The problem is not the reality check here. The problem is the motive. Trump says Europe is decaying because of migrants, because it's too woke. But Europe's real problems lie elsewhere, in the aging population, in their dependence on US security, and in their delusions of old grandeur. If Trump wants an amicable peace deal, he needs Europe on board. His other option is to just abandon Ukraine, let the war play out on the battlefield, but that would be a bloody and devastating result. This moment calls for mature and level-headed diplomacy, not insults and name-calling.
I was born into revolution. I inherited power like a crown. What I delivered was isolation. I built a personality cult that touched every home. Millions suffered hunger under my rule, but no one dared to speak. I ruled from palaces. My people queued for rice. I called myself the dear leader. History calls me something else, the dictator. Who am I?